All right, well, let's discuss the first pillar of well-rounded excellence. And by the way, I'm not inclined to believe that a certain pillar would be more important than the other one, or that there is a particular order. However, there is some argument to make that if you are not starting with your value system, you can't really go anywhere from here. So what is value system anyway? It's basically your principles, it's your life philosophy. For somebody it can be faith, it can be religion, right? It's the values and the standards, the non-negotiables, the morality principles, right? The foundation of you as a human. What it would take for you to take each step to be a great human in any given scenario, right? How you handle relationships, what standards do you have for other people, what standards do you have for yourself in terms of your career, business, education, your life pursuits, your adventures. I mean, literally anything you touch, anything you do, think, feel, that determines you and that creates that identity and character in you as a human. What would be those principles and what would be that value system? Now, why is it even important to consider this, and why this is that pillar of well-rounded excellence that I believe to be extremely important and that it starts with it? Well, the truth is that if you don't have a foundation you can rely on, it's like building a house, right? You can't really build a house if your foundation is not strong. You only will be confident in any sort of blocks, in bricks and wood on top of and your roof, right? All of the walls in your house, if you know the foundation is really strong. And so for you to then take any action to progress in life, regardless of the domain of life, whether it's trying to become successful in career or business, or it's something just your humility, kindness, empathy, your love to life, your trials and mistakes, you know, anything you do truly in any given scenario, you can't fully accomplish that, or you will always have this battle with yourself whether you are on the right path, right? You will second guess yourself, you will make more mistakes, you will lose more time. And so to eliminate that, to prevent that, and to be more effective and efficient, if you will, put in a little bit of productivity terms here, but in the scenario of you as a human, right? From your foundational principles, if you don't have that, you can't progress, you can't move forward. And so building a great foundation, understanding where you stand on certain life principles and nuances, right, helps you to then form every choice, every decision, every step you take in alignment with the value system that you have. Now let's kind of take it a little bit more into a few examples and just be a little more practical. But before that, by the way, one thing to understand is that if you are not sure about what those values are, or you kind of know, you kind of feel it, but you never put it on paper, like law and order for you as a human, for an individual. If you never have done it before, then that could be a good exercise. And so before I actually get to those exercises, you need to start asking yourself, right? Any exercise, any action you can take before you even get there, you have to ask yourself some self-discovery questions. And FYI, there is much more questions and exercises that we will touch on in the ebook that is also part of this course. And of course, in my blog and other materials, whether it's free or paid content, you will be able to dive in deeper. And unshameful plug here, if you would like to be coached by me, then you definitely will get down into the depth of these in order to form a true value system here. Now, so what would be a few examples of those self-discovery questions? For instance, it starts really basic, because you would think these questions you have answers for, but if you ask yourself, you might be struck, you might stumble, like, what? Like, I don't even know, like I can't put it on paper. And so, what are my values? What I stand for? Like, try to create categories, maybe domains of life, and some principles as to, like, but starts really with basic, like, what are my values? Do I want to be a good neighbor? Do I want to, show love to somebody I care about? How do I do that? What are my standards there? How much care I show for somebody else? What is my standard for me? Like, whom I want to become? What's the value there? Do I want to be one of the greatest X, Y, and Z? Or do I want to be humble but successful in a sense of being just a good human that cares, that is in alignment with general principles of life, that I cross the spectrum universal, across the humanity. It starts like from the very bottom, decency of how you would be a human. I think no matter what religion, no matter what background, usually those are quite similar. And so you can start from there and just ask these questions. Ask yourselves, what are my values, right? Where do I stand? What are my standards? Where do I want to go? And how that destination creates and impacts a certain value that I want to align with, right? So you start from there, then you can, and by the way, another example, I know it may have sounded too broad and too difficult to grasp in your head, but I can even give you example that is just super narrow, and it might help you, because the more narrow focus you have here, the easier it will be for you to understand what are your values. For example, is one of your values to be healthy and strong? That's really a good question. Do you think, oh, of course I want to be healthy? No, but seriously, if you believe that's your value and you want to be healthy, look at yourself. Are you overweight? Are you underweight? Do you have a certain illness that was your fault? I mean, I'm not judging here. I'm just saying, we all sometimes make mistakes. We eat bad, we go to sleep very late, we drink alcohol, we do lots of things that one might say is not a virtue, it definitely is a vice. And did you limit your vice? And then start asking yourself, and then it kind of flows into different questions here, right? What are my values? And then you're asking yourself, do I take actions that are in alignment with my values? All the way back here. So you first say, I want to be healthy and strong, I want to live long, I want to have sustainability in my body, soul, and mind. Well, that's great, but do I take the actions that are in alignment with that value? Because if you're saying that you go to sleep at 3 a.m. and you're drunk most of the days, again, not judging, I'm just saying this probably could be one example that you struggle with something. Maybe you have an addiction, you're watching this video and you're like, shit, I don't know how to deal with this, because it seems though this is my value, but I'm not fully committed to that value. I'm not going to the gym, I'm not going enough, I'm missing trainings, I'm finding excuses. Again, whatever it is, your world, we can have so many different nuances and circumstances. I'm not gonna even pretend I know everything, but truth is, it's kind of simple. You state the value, you identify how committed you are to that value. Because if you are not, well, I'm sorry that I might be a little bit too forward and you might get upset with me, but that's not your value then. Value does not exist by itself on paper. You do it for the purposes of convenience for you to understand what those values are. But then you have to enforce, you have to implement, you have to practice. Like speaking of religion, for example, and I'm Christian, and I'm 28 years old on the time of making this video. I'm not shy to disclose this information, by the way. But the point is, religion, right? We can all say, I am this, so I identify with this, but how much you practice it in real life, that's a question. And for me, I can say humbly that there is a long way to go for me to be perfect in that regard and to serve God better and to be a better soldier of Christ, the way I would see it, right? The way I want to be, and who I want to be. And so I'm just letting you know that it can get down to, in religion, another example I can give you, like, do we do fasting? Do we celebrate each Christian or Muslim or Jew or Jewish or other holidays, right? Depending on your religion. Like, are you actually committed, or you just say it? You just claim it to be? Like, do you live in alignment with those, in my case, for example, biblical values, right? And it's very hard. I'm not pretending that that's easy. That's maybe the hardest thing to do. But if you're not doing this, if you're not trying to figure out values, and if you're not committed to it, then we can't even get to the excellence with you guys. So that's just the truth. We can't get to being well-rounded, let alone excellent in it. We gotta challenge ourselves here. We gotta constantly, check on ourselves and be really self-aware as to where we stand with our values and principles and how committed we are in enforcing, implementing, and practicing them. So now, here another example, again, flows from those two, because you can't really fully understand what's your life purpose unless you know your values, unless you figure out if you're committed, because again, you can shoot in the sky. My life purpose to become X, Y, and Z, and I want to help people. That's nice. But did you do anything in order to fulfill your life purpose? Because if you didn't, again, I just want you to remember this. And I'm going to talk about this so many times in this course, you probably will vomit and say, Andre, you are just boring, you are repeating yourself. But the truth is, I wanted to land it home in your brain that everything we talk about, this is not some mumbo jumbo theory that you need to like and get inspired by. I'm not, as a matter of fact, I'm not interested in inspiring you. This is not a motivational pep talk. This is literally a framework you need to follow and understand that everything we talk about need to be bound by real action. I don't know how much you see with this marker, but I'm talking about action here, right? If you don't have any action done in any of this, whether it's this pillar, value system, or another pillar we'll talk about in other videos, then it's all fluff. It doesn't matter. Just clean this all from this whiteboard and forget it. So again, action matters here. You align on your principles, you take action, you ask yourself what is your life purpose, and you go from there. This is a few examples, obviously just 3 questions. Once again, check out that ebook because there is much more there. Now, to tee this up, a few exercises. Again, core values assessment, it's pretty much a way for you to ask that question, what are my values? And I don't want you to be too stringent on the approach. Whatever works for you, start simple, stupid. Take a piece of paper, take a pen, or maybe if you like to type digitally, your laptop, your iPad, whatever, and try to figure out what those values are. At first, just shoot all your thoughts. Don't try to be organized. Later though, I do recommend some organization. Create categories, create domains of life, create some ways for you to put them in buckets. Don't label them too hard, don't overthink, but just make it easy on yourself. Remember, you're doing it for you. This is not some dissertation or essay you're trying to create for your professor or something else, right? So the exercise would be identifying your values, finding categories and buckets you can put them in, and creating some organized, clean, sort of written version of what those values are. Now then, as a matter of fact, I would kind of flip it. I'm not going to go into exercise 2 just yet. Then we need to do the exercise core values alignment. Again, it's kind of reminiscent of the question number 2 here that I was just talking about. And I want you, again, in writing, not just in your head, in writing. And if you have a good friend or a relative or your spouse, somebody you really love and care about that you can open up so much, or you can make this exercise in tandem with, right? And so you would want to understand and look back, let's say a week, 2 weeks, a month. You can look back a year. Just start small first. Look back a week and say to yourself, were my choices in alignment with my values? Again, simple, stupid example. You said you want to be healthy. Did you go to the gym enough times last week? Again, going to the gym, just an example. Understand, maybe you're a swimmer, maybe you do some other sports. The point is, everybody on earth needs to exercise in the way they could, considering any limitations health-wise. But you gotta do something. And again, obviously, if you have a certain disability that prevents you from that, I hope you can find a different way to fulfill whatever the action you need to take in order to be healthier in a way you can. I understand some people are less lucky than others. I definitely appreciate their situation. So I'm not putting any pressure here. I'm just saying, try to challenge yourself and ask what those actions you took that are in alignment or are in misalignment. Because if you're, let's say, capable of going to the gym, you said you want to be healthy and strong, and you didn't last week, and don't tell me all of your excuses, I don't want to hear them. So you definitely in misalignment with your core values. So again, in writing, I want you to write the specific, you take a week, you write the actions, and you choose the values you already wrote in the different exercise in your assessment, and you correlate them to each other, cross-reference, right? Oh, this is the values, but this was that action. So in my audit, I can cross-reference that this action was in alignment with that value. Or there is a cross here. In fact, this action was totally in misalignment with this value. And again, don't try to be, some Van Gogh, or I don't know, some Michelangelo, somebody, whatever, name me, a great individual in all sorts of arts in this world. Don't try to be an artist and create some beautiful cross-referenced, arrows here, arrows there. Remember, this is for you. Make it as easy and clean as you can. Make a few versions, rewrite. But at the end of the day, I want you to come up with a conclusion as to, in your audit, what were the values and actions that were misaligned or were aligned. And you can, by the way, in the future, again, teasing this a little bit like unshameful plug, I am working on creating a real self-assessment, the rigorous one, where you can do, I'm gonna do basically all of these things I'm telling you to do, I'm gonna do for you. You will easily use that framework and it's gonna give you a score in the end. Like, what's your well-rounded, excellent score? It's a little bit in the works, if you will, so we will get there in the future, in the near future, but for now, you can do this yourself. It's still good, it's gonna push you and challenge you. All right, so I can talk about this for hours, but this is value system. I hope you got some interesting insight into how to deal with this and specifically into this first pillar of well-rounded excellence. So I'm looking forward to progressing with another 5 in order for you to fully understand how you can become truly well-rounded individual. All right, I see you there.